Hello, everyone. David Morris here, publisher of Lake Drive Books, and I'm joined today by author Trey Ferguson, author of Theologizin Bigger, which
Yeah, yeah,
he's got right there behind him. I got a copy
we got
too.
all
I've got the
sorts of
only
stuff.
one.
We all over the place right now. I'm triple lettering right now. It's everywhere.
I got the hardcover. All right.
Mine is right outside this door. I don't want to disrupt the
I
video
believe you.
by getting
Yeah,
up and going to get it, but I got
you
it.
you got it. You got it. I know it. We know it. It's there.
And we're also joined by Myron Abernathy, narrator and voiceover artist extraordinaire, who is the voice behind the audio recording, which we're so glad to have, an audio recording of Theologizing Bigger. Theologizing Bigger. I keep wanting to put a G on the end of that. Um, so how are you guys? How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Glad to be here. Glad to have been a part of this this process, a part of this amazing book. And I'm not just saying that because I'm here with y'all. I don't kiss up like that. So yes, I'm glad to be a part of this amazing book here.
Yeah, man, I'm doing all right. It's been no, it's been a hectic time, but I'm really glad that that you would loan us your voice as well, my brother. Because I ain't gonna lie, it took me a while to believe people, but I feel like I got a pretty dope voice. But then I heard your voice, and I felt like I was like, well, what's the point anymore? Like my voice, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like I was driving a Chrysler 300 and I thought I was doing well, and then a Bentley pulled up next to me, and I was like, well, I don't even want this one no more, right? Like that's how I felt when I first heard your voice, and I was like, well, let me get a ride. And then that's where we find ourselves right now.
So you were in the Chrysler 300 and and then a Phantom pulled up.
That's exactly what happened. That's what happened. I was
Cat
really
Williams reference for those of y'all that don't get it, but yes.
there. It is. Yeah, I was you better than me. I wasn't going to spell it out. They were going to have to get in where they fit in. But yeah, there it is. They can Google it now.
I
But
do
I
have
was.
a habit of over explaining things. That's not it. Will probably will tell y'all, but yes.
It's not over explaining. It's properly explaining. I just don't be doing it because I don't feel like it sometimes. David could tell you a story about how that went during the editing process a couple of times.
Mm.
I'm noticing something common between the two of you. Myron, your t-shirt says Wakanda, and Trey, behind you, you've got Wakanda.
I do a couple of
Yeah.
Yep,
places, in
yep.
fact.
The
Yeah,
spirit was moving today.
Yeah.
it is all the time.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
Myron, where are you joining us from? And tell us what you do.
I'm joining you guys from Tucker, Georgia, specifically in my closet, where the magic happens. As you see, I got a blanket covering the stuff behind me, and you can't see in front of me, but I got like the little foam panels, like the soundproofing panels. I got cosplays to the left and right of me. I had to purposely put some clothes in this closet, to keep the echoing from happening. So I was like, you know what? I got all my regular clothes in this. We just moved actually as well. So this at the beginning of this process, we were in the old apartment and I was actually in my walk-in closet with all of our clothes. Fortunately, that's not the case now because I don't want my wife's stuff showing up in the background. But now we're in our office closet. So I actually had to put some stuff in here. So I was like, you know what? Let me just I'm also um, I'm bouncing around in my head here. I cosplay on the side as well. So I got some of my costumes to the left and right of me to kind of help absorb those sound waves there. But what do I do? I'm an IT analyst during the day. And that's kind of what got me into uh, doing voiceover, doing narration, because the majority of my job was being on the phone. And at least a couple of times a week, a caller would say, hey, do you do radio? Do you do voiceover? You have a voice
Hmm.
for it. I'm like, okay, I can rock with that. But then, procrastination would always set in. I would take a workshop and then months to a year or so would pass before I take the next one. And then finally, the last time that I got laid off, like I had the same job from like 2006 until 2017, moved to a different job, had that one for a few years, and then that one I lost it in 2020. So there was a series of layoffs after that. And the last one, I said, you know what? It's time to get this voiceover thing off the ground. One, because um, that just kind of lit a fire under me, basically. And then also I thought, okay, if this happens again, I need a way to, I need to have already had this off the ground so I can make money, so I don't have to go, I'm not scrambling if I lose a job again. Also, I'm starting to get tired of IT. I'm not quite there yet, but I want to already be about to be out, like on my own terms, before I get really, really tired of it. So,
So what other voiceover have you done so far?
so let's see. I've done,
Where can we hear your voice?
all right. So this is actually, I can comfortably say this now that we have successfully done this. Actually, Trey, I think I told you already. This
Yeah.
is actually only my second audiobook.
Mhm.
So I did one called The Hunter. I finished that one, I want to say late August. Late August. So I got that one done then. I'm working on my third now. I'm not sure if the author is going to, I'm not sure where he's going to put it yet. So I don't know if that one will actually get out there. And of course, I hope it does. I love the content that it's about. It's about making sure that um, the stumbling with my words here. You got, and not live radio. This would not work on the radio.
Sure would.
Every day
Sure
I
would.
listen to the radio, I'm like, that couldn't be me, because they don't like they don't stumble over their thoughts and stammer like I do. I
You
have
worried about making sense. A lot of people on the radio don't make sense. You see, that's
you know what, that's our story and we're sticking to it. I'm going to keep that. Yeah, but yeah, they don't have the magic of editing like I do. They don't have
yeah.
they don't get to go and cut all the stuff out later. But yeah, so hopefully that audiobook will make
Mhm.
public after we get done with it. There is a, I'm not, I'll have to send you guys the link to it, but a former coworker of mine, a good friend of mine, we were kind of doing a podcast together, and it's called Garfield's Crossing, and it's basically just a series of short stories there. So there's a story called Moses Jones and the Meal Ticket. It's about a blues guitar player who plays, he's like the house musician uh at a crab house that doesn't sell crab. Um so yeah, right.
Setting up great problems in this story already.
Exactly, exactly. So I narrate him. I have the recording somewhere. I'm not sure, because I think the site was kind of doing an overhaul, so I don't know if the audio is still up on the site anymore. Speaking of which, my very first voice job, a friend of mine who I know through cosplay, he does a lot of online content as well. I guess you can call him a content creator now. That wasn't a word back then, but that was only a few years ago. So that shows how far we've come in a few years. Um, for those of you who may not be familiar with anime, he did a web series that is a parody of My Hero Academia. Um, he only got 2 episodes into the web series, and the episode that I was supposed to be on never aired. So I'm like, dude, I will give you that $25 back if you just air the episode so I can get some exposure from
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of where I got started. That was the first time I actually heard someone. Um, yes, I'd heard people over the phone at my job say, "Hey, you have a good voice," but this compliment stood out. He said, "Man, you sound like the voice of God," and I was like,
There you go.
"Okay,
Yeah.
I will take that compliment. I don't know if it's sacrilege for me to take
Yeah.
that compliment, but I'll take it." Um,
Pretty much all the narrators we worked with at Lake Drive Books are like yourself, solopreneurs it's like a side hustle.
yeah,
They've got great voices, and it's just really kind of cool the way that in this economy that we're in right now, you can find some of these things to do.
yeah.
If you've got the time, if you've got the talent, and the skill set for it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So on this book, you're also in this case joined by your better half, if I may say
Right,
it that
right.
way.
Yeah,
T
I say it like that
Naya,
sometimes, but
Naya.
yeah,
So when people go on to Audible or Amazon or iTunes and they see, or Apple Books, they see the audiobook there, it's going to have Trey Ferguson as the author.
Yeah,
It's
that's
going
me.
to have Myron Abernathy as the narrator, but also Naya Abernathy.
right,
What is
right.
her role in this book?
So she narrated the foreword, which was by Candace Marie Bimbo. Uh, I had followed Candace for a while, so then when I saw that she was on the foreword, I was like, oh, I'm honored that she's on this too. And at the time, I didn't realize that it was in the works to have Naya. Like I found out from her that she was going to be doing the narration. I had already recorded the narration in my voice there, so I was like, okay, I got a woman's voice here, and it's the illustrious Candace Marie Bimbo here. I'm gonna just do my best to try to sound like what she would sound like. And you know, the last audiobook I did, there were some female voices in there as well. And they didn't reject it. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And so you guys at home, you will never hear that version of it because it exists. I haven't deleted it, or maybe I have. I forget if I deleted it or not. But it got recorded, and
Now I kind
then
of want to hear it.
if I haven't deleted it, I will send it to you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
that's how Naya got on it. So she is doing she did Candace's forward there.
That's Candace Marie Benbow, the author of Red Lip Theology.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
wrote the foreword for Theologizin Bigger. Yeah.
Nice. I am going to be getting that book because I'm trying to be, you know, as men, you know, we've all had our less progressive days. We've all had, you know, our blind spots. And as I try to
Mhm.
get rid of my blind spots, I figure, okay, that's probably a good way to to make progress in that. So I'm like, that is a book I'm looking forward to buying and reading.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She did her thing with that one.
So Myron, you might not think that, you know, you're the narrator. Maybe you don't have an opinion about Trey's book, or you're not supposed to have an opinion. But when you're reading a book, when you're narrating a book, when you're acting in a play, yeah, you have an opinion about the content that
Yeah, yeah.
you're working on. You kind of, you know, you even embody it and try to get into the author's head a little bit. Um, Theologizing Bigger, Homilies on Living Freely and Loving Holy. Um, I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, and we didn't sign a lot of homework for this, but you know what was your experience? What was the feeling like of recording Trey's book?
Well, one, just kind of as you were hinting at, I definitely loved the content because like you definitely can have, you know, things that you do and you're like, what is this? Like there's been a few auditions and fortunately I didn't get the parts, but there's a couple of different things I've tried out for, and I'm like, I mean, I would do this for, you know, I'm doing this for the money, but I'm like, I'm not really feeling what this person is putting down. There was even one recently where I was like, I think I'm kind of, yeah, I was like, let me pass on this one. But yours, Trey, like that spoke to me from the jump. I know we kind of deemed a little bit, just kind of touching on this a little bit, but um, right before this opportunity came on my plate, I had been reading a book called I don't remember the title of it, How the Bible Actually Works by
Oh,
Peter
Peters.
Enns. And then come to find out, you know, someone that you've been reading as well. Um, I'm still only a couple of chapters into that book. I had to push pause to, you know, pay homage to Theologizin Bigger. But I feel like I picked up where I left off with that book because it was spitting the same thing, speaking the same thing, just talking about how we're so used to treating the Bible in one way, how we're so used to treating the Bible like it's infallible, like it's inerrant, if I'm using the word properly. And yeah, I just love how that book was just kind of that book and this book were kind of opening my eyes to how the Bible really isn't supposed to be used for that. It spoke to me really, really deeply because I come from a very legalistic church background. I grew up Baptist, but then I became Church of Christ early in my college years, and I stayed in there for about 13 years there. And it was just a very, like I said, a very legalistic environment. Um, it taught you that, okay, just to give you a little background on that, I'm trying not to go into my whole spiel because I have a whole YouTube channel about it, and every video is like 30 minutes long. So, needless to say, I could take up too much time talking about it.
Well, wait a minute. You have a YouTube channel?
A couple actually. The one that I'm talking about now, I call it Last Principles, and it's a joke on. So in that church, some people have called it a cult. I used to not call it that, but I'm comfortable calling it that now. It's not on some Jim Jones, Kool-Aid, Wicker Man type stuff. You
Yeah.
know, not every cult is
Right.
extreme like that.
Right.
Similar to racism, people think racism is, oh, it's got to be crosses burning, it's got to be the N-word, it's got to be burning churches, but a lot of it is more subtle. This
Mhm.
cult was more subtle, but still it was very high, it was very controlling. They thought they were the only um people going to heaven, a whole bunch of stuff like that. There was an indoctrination process of Bible studies. They call it studying the Bible with people, but it was really indoctrinating people. The study series was called First Principles. So when I started my YouTube channel, I was going to call it XICOC Rattler because I used to go to FAMU. But I was half asleep one night and it just kind of came to me, Last Principles, and it just stuck with me. So that's the name of the channel. It's basically me going through just processing out loud. Naya, my better half, kind of saved me from it. I left because of her. And you know, if you guys want the full story, go look up Last Principles on YouTube.
I'm
But
definitely gonna look it up.
yeah, just start from the beginning and go from there. But um, after I left, I just kind of didn't look back. So about 9 years passed before I started really processing it. There's a group on Facebook about other people who've been in that group. So I started my own channel after being interviewed by another member. So I kind of process out loud, and then I also interview other people who have been through the same experience. So
Mm.
just kind of helping them process it too, being a voice for other people who um have also been through it. And you know, because people say, oh well, you're just bitter, you're just church hurt, that stuff didn't really happen. I'm like, no, I'm here to ungaslight you. I'm here to validate you and show you, hey, your feelings are valid, your experience was valid, and there are other people like you who have left that went through the same thing, so you have a home with us. So that's basically what that channel is about. My other channel is a lot more lighthearted, um just about my cosplay. Like I'll go through my um work in progress on different costumes that I've done. I've interviewed other cosplayers. More recently, I've just been doing videos of the conventions I go to. So I'll just
All right,
if I see
you
someone,
gotta say what kind of costumes. Cosplay is costume play. Not everybody.
yeah, it's a marriage of, it's a marriage of costume and play. Um, I kind of did my own version of play on that because it started out play as in you are playing as that character. So if I was Black Panther, I would be talking. No, I'm not going to do it right now because I had to practice for a little bit. I was going to try to use my Wakandan accent, and
And you
on
slid
the
the accent in the book, and I love that. You really
I
did.
was, I was hoping you like it. I was like, you know what? Let me just. We don't do that here. I think
Yeah,
that was it. I
yeah,
was
that
like,
was
you know
it.
what? I can't not at least try to slip that in. And then the fact that y'all didn't say anything about it, I was like, okay, it
I
stuck.
loved it. I
Cool.
loved it.
I'm glad. Glad I stuck the landing with that voice. But yeah, so if I was dressing up as Black Panther, I would have to, if you go off the original version of play in cosplay, you would have to act like that person the whole day. Crazy thing is, my first cosplay was Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe. Snake Eyes doesn't talk because he got his vocal cords messed up in a helicopter accident. So I found it very exhausting to walk as as an introvert who does not talk a lot unless we're on a subject that I like. I found it very exhausting to not be talking all day. So I was like, you know what, F this. I will be in character for a picture, or I'll be in character if another character that is related to my character is there. Other than that, I'm just going to be me in a costume. So I personally have kind of transformed that play into having fun. So to me, if I'm in costume and I'm having fun, I'm cosplaying.
Yeah.
And I think even if people don't say that specifically, I think a lot of people go off of that rule because I don't see a whole lot of people. There are some people who still do get into character the whole time that they're in costume, but a lot of people, there are more people that don't. There are more people who are like me who are just, we may act like that character here and there, but we're not full on the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, that's really cool. Now I'm gonna bounce this back to Trey.
Mhm.
Trey, do you see a linkage between cosplay and how we can talk about the Bible?
Do I see a linkage between cosplay and how we can talk about the Bible?
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, you really put me on the spot right there. I have to do some real work on that question.
Yeah.
Because I guess the short answer is yes. in that I think there's a negative and a positive aspect there, right? Because there is a degree to which what many people expect of people is some level of cosplay. Like you do not enter the space of talking about the Bible until you are ready to don the right clothes and perform the right role, right?
Sunday's best, right?
Right. And when we do that, people who show up as their authentic selves or people who put on the clothes but don't feel like playing the role are then viewed as unorthodox or out of line in some way, shape, or form, right? My argument is that we should be encouraging people to show up authentically, whether they feel like putting on the right costumes, whether they feel like showing up with their own voice and doing things the right way, right? And I think that a lot of the dissonance that people are feeling with their faith or the church in general is because they are tired of participating in a cosplay that they didn't consent to in the first place.
What about that's right. What about also, can you inhabit a character in the Bible? Can you inhabit a story or a truth from the Bible for a day? And can we do that in a way that's creative, that takes imagination, that takes a sense of play? I don't think people have a sense of play when it comes to the Bible, unless they want to put on some tacky looking Old Testament clothes and pretend, or do like a nativity scene or something like that. But a sense of play with it.
I honestly think that most of us do, even if we're not like we like to read ourselves into the Bible. And I think that's a good thing. I think the bad thing is that we're always the good guys when we do that. And
And that's
I
dangerous.
think, I think we miss out on opportunities if we're going to go with the cosplay, then let's try out all the roles, and we might find out that we're actually better at playing some of the roles that we tend to ignore, right? We're better at playing the bad guys are a more natural fit, and I think we miss out on opportunities when sort of like with Disney movies, we always try to relate with the protagonist, and we bring that same thing to the Bible. But I honestly think that a lot of people are comfortable trying to play into the Bible, but not in a way that's always helpful for the reflection and the transformation that is possible when we try on all the roles.
Yeah.
You know,
Now,
Trey,
here's my other question. Let's get back to Wakanda. Who's the main character? What's his name? Is Prince in Wakanda?
King T'Challa.
King T'Challa, yeah.
Yeah. So why isn't he in the Bible?
Why isn't T'Challa in the Bible? Okay,
Yeah.
so are we talking about an archetype or the literal dude himself?
Both.
Okay. Yeah. So if you want to talk about an archetype, then T'Challa is in the Bible, right? There is the son of a king who comes into power and is met with resistance from all sides and has to overcome all powers of darkness, and in the end is able to do so repeatedly, to the end that even people who are not from his kingdom have to come to him for protection and defense. Like you see that happening in Civil War, and that character is in the Bible, right? That's who Jesus is. But of course, that's doing a little exegetical homework. If we're talking about the literal dude, the reason is because the canon is closed, because the stories that we have in the Bible belong to a different people of times past. And I think there is a disservice when we cannot recognize the archetypes of these stories and find out who these people would be mapped out onto in our present times, or are there any contemporary stories that are telling a very similar narrative, like we just spelled out a moment ago. I think there is a fruitfulness in viewing the Bible as literature sometimes, because when we do that, we become better, not only storytellers, but receivers of stories and communicators in general, right? So
yeah,
T'Challa is in the Bible, but he's not, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Myron, what do you think? Do you feel like you're being a biblical character when you put on T'Challa's costume?
Uh,
That was good, Trey.
that didn't cross my mind. But I see where Trey was going with it. Also because the times that I have dressed up as him, it wasn't like a canon version of him. I did a little people know me for doing mashups, and the mashup that I did with T'Challa was I do a luchador version of Black Panther, and really only because I was looking to do the original version, and as I was Googling different masks, I saw a luchador version of the Black Panther mask, and I was like, I got to do it.
What's a
I got to do it.
luchador version?
Mexican wrestling, basically. Professional wrestlers from Mexico and maybe some other Latin American countries. I'm not sure.
Nice.
But there's a certain style of costume that they wear, and a lot of them wear masks.
You don't have it
Um,
with you right there in the closet, do you?
Not this one. That one is
Okay.
actually downstairs. But yeah, so I
Yeah.
was like, you know what? I got to do it. I got to. Actually, a friend of mine beat me to it. So when I saw him, I was like 99% like, oh, that's dope. 1% of me was like, dadgummit.
Yeah.
And no,
Yeah.
I only say that because when it comes to those particular things, like if I wear, like everybody named Mama dresses up as Black Panther, everybody named Mama dresses up as Spider-Man. So you're not going to go to a convention. Don't go to a convention expecting to be the only person dressed up as that character. When it came to mashups, original characters, different spins on things, then I'm like, okay, if somebody beat me to it, I don't want to do it. But my vision, what he did was different than my vision from it. So from the neck up, we have the same mask, but from the neck down, everything else is different. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna go ahead and go through with it. But Trey, you reminded me of something. Not reminded me of something. I just had I don't know if this is big enough to be an epiphany, but as we were making the parallels between the Bible and cosplay, I thought about gatekeeping. Gatekeeping is something that happens in both Christianity and in cosplay. Cosplay, you got those elitists I call myself a costume assembler because I don't make anything myself. I either commission someone to pay to make it for me, or I find this piece from Amazon. I find this piece from the thrift store. I find this piece from the Army surplus store. I find this piece from Walmart. I get this stuff from. I might make a couple of things myself, but for the most part, I've never made a costume from head to toe 100% myself. There are some people. This isn't the majority, but there are some people in the cosplay community who don't consider you a real cosplayer if you don't make your own costumes, if you don't make everything from scratch. You're not real if, or adding some other things into it. If I decide I want to dress up as Spider-Man and not Miles Morales, you know, then, oh, well, you can't be that Spider-Man. You have to be Miles Morales. I cosplay as Bishop from X-Men, but he has some crossover with Cable from X-Men. They're both time travelers. If I decide to dress up as Cable from X-Men, somebody might be like, no, you're Black. You have to be Bishop. There's all these sort of different elements of gatekeeping and cosplaying that also happens with the church. Like, you can't come in here. You're not dressed properly. You don't pray with you're praying out loud, or you're praying with your head raised and your eyes open. You're supposed to pray on your knees with your eyes closed and your head bowed. No, you have to do your Christian music this way. You have to do, there's so much gatekeeping. There's so much extra stuff. I almost said something that I almost used the H word, Trey. No, no,
Wait.
no, not the H word. I almost said Pharisee. I almost said Pharisaical.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
y'all, I'm gonna stop there. Y'all got to go check out the book to read to find out why I'm not using that word right now. Um, but yeah, there's just so like a hedge around everything. Like, no, you got to do it this way. You got to do it our way. Like, no, this is for everybody. Everybody can do it their own way. There's different ways of having a relationship with God. There's different
Yeah,
ways of praising God. There's different ways of praying to him. If I want to
yeah,
sit up in the pew and there's music playing, my old church, the one I was just talking about, you had to be out of yourself. You had to be energetic. You had to be fired up. Anybody who used to be in that church would hear those words and cringe right now, fired up and out of yourself. So after I got out of it, I got very comfortable with, you know what? If I hear a slow and reverent song, I might
yeah,
just kind of sway back and forth. I got my eyes closed. I got my arms folded. My old church would look at me and be like, bro, you're not being out of yourself. Other people are struggling with you because you're not being out of yourself, and they're looking at you and like, what's your walk with God gotta do with me and how I choose to do it.
yeah.
So yeah, I was thinking about that as you mentioned those parallels. I was like, you know what, this
Yeah.
this tracks too.
That gets to your theme. Trey, about having imagination and a sense of curiosity, and even in I think in what Myron's saying is being yourself, being your whole self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should wrap up. Any thoughts, Trey, from you for Myron?
No, I wasn't gassing you up earlier when I said that I'm honored and privileged to have you and your wife to take this step with me. Right, this is huge for me. I've never put out a book before. I was nervous about this whole audiobook aspect of it and everything, and this has been a real dream come true. Uh, I am still jealous. I'm hating because I thought I had a dope voice, and then I heard yours, and now I'm gonna go and see if there's like a corrective surgery I can have, get this thing tuned up or something like that. But I do want to thank you for helping make this special moment, this special process, even more special to me. And I really thank you in ways that I'm struggling to articulate right now.
Hey, if it makes you feel any better, I went back to listen to Three Black Men, and I heard your voice and also heard you read one of the chapters, and I was like, it was a chapter I had already recorded, and I was like, oh, am I doing him justice? Like, are people gonna hear me and then hear you and be like, dude, that ain't him, that's not Trey. So so mutual voice admiration here. But yeah, I'm honored to again, honored to be a part of this. I'm glad, I'm honored that you guys trusted me with this, as someone who is still finding his way in this profession. Just that someone would trust me with such a big thing there. I definitely appreciated the fact that, it was all done and y'all still liked it. I'm like, hey, I'm glad.
Yes, sir.
Where can people find you, Myron? What's the name of your company?
So it's Smooth, SMOOVE Voices LLC. You can currently find me on I'm on all the social media. Well, no, not all the social medias. I'm a little too old for Snapchat, but Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so you can find me all in all those places at Smooth Voices. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you are an audiobook, I'm sorry, if you are an author looking for narration, you can find me on ACX as well.
Right.
Excuse me.
Amazon ACX. Mhm.
Amazon, yes, Amazon ACX. That's it for now. That will not be it in the future. I'm, just trying to, expand everywhere I can. But that's where I'm at the moment.
Nice.
If you guys, again, if you guys want to hear my whole, cult survivor story, that's Last Principles on YouTube.
Right. Thank you.
And for anything cosplay related, just replace the voices with cosplayers, COSPLAYA, playa instead of player. So Smooth Cosplayer there. And that's where you can find all of my cosplaying shenanigans there.
Wow. I've got my lunch break all mapped out for me. And Trey, you're at Pastor Trey 05?
Yeah, on most of the socials. If you're looking for anything I'm doing, whether that's podcast, whether that's you want to subscribe to my newsletter, if you want to follow me on social media, if you want to watch some of my latest sermons, you can do all of that stuff at PastorTrey05.com. And you can go there and find out where to buy my book, the audiobook narrated by Myron Abernathy at PastorTrey05.com.
Hey.
And also you've got some cool merch there, like which you're wearing right now too.
Oh yeah, you can cop some of that at PastorTrey05.com.
Theologizin Bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. And I'm David Morris at Lake Drive Books. Like and subscribe. And thank you so much, both of you. Thank you, Myron, for reading that book and working together, partnering. Anything you can do to help spread the word of the book yourself would be really great. And we'll try to get the word out about you too. And thanks, both of you.
All
Thank
right.
y'all so much. I appreciate it.